Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode one of the Cherry Pickers here on YSN. I'm your host, Gary Altizer. I'm here with my main man, Jim Bailey. Today is episode one of the Cherry Pickers. What is the Cherry Pickers? We're just a bunch of guys who love the NFL. We love sports betting, and we got a group chat going on with myself, Jim Bailey, Ryan Oliver, Kyle Hoosier. We talk all things NFL, and we are, excuse me. Episode one here. I'm making some mistakes. Sorry, guys. So we're just a bunch of buddies that talk about NFL and sports betting. And right now, we're just going to talk about Week 13. I knew that was going to happen. We're going to talk about Week 13, the NFL lines, some parlays, some teasers, and all things that go into sports gambling. Uh, we're first going to talk about the system. We have a system that we use to pick bets. Jim Bailey and I probably, what has this been, Bailey? About 7 years now we've been using this system.
It's been a good while, and we've refined it over the years, tweaked it a little bit here and there, and we've had a lot of success with it.
Yeah, so what is the system? It's just basically a bunch of numbers that are crunched to find out which team is the most efficient on that day. And if that team is more efficient by X amount of points and that point spread that the system shows is bigger than what Vegas has, we use that to pick that team. It takes into account how often a team scores and how often a team should score. So it's not just the teams that get into the end zone, because that is not a good predictor in the future. It takes things that are random, like fumble returns for touchdowns, interception returns for touchdowns, things like that out of the equation, because those are random. It also takes things like the defense that recovers a fumble inside their opponent's 5-yard line and a score that comes after that away, because you can't count on those either. And it also needs 4 games from a starting quarterback to become eligible for us to bet on. Why? Well, over the 6 or 7 years, what do we found out, Bailey? If we go with less than 4 games, then we do not get consistent results, because it is very difficult to predict what a team is going to do when you let's say you have 2 games from a backup quarterback and he got to play the 2 worst teams in the NFL. He's going to look like the next Tom Brady, and you lay a bunch of money on that guy, and then he has to play the Ravens or he has to play the Chiefs and they get beat by 30 points. So we've got this thing refined as well as we possibly can to get some positive picks out of here. Bailey, you know the record that it went last year. What was that?
Well, I just gave it to you, 62 and 33.
Yeah, 62 and 33.
And 67% winning clip. So, over the years, it's been right around there. I mean, it in sports betting, you're going to have ups and downs. You can't count on having that good a record every year, but long term, it's been around there, around 65% since we started doing it and started tracking it.
Yeah, 52.4% is the most important number in professional sports betting. Why? Because after that point, if you can consistently bet above 62 or 52.4% in a winning clip, then you can be in the profit. So the system last year was well above that, and we're hoping that it will continue indefinitely like that, hopefully. So one or two things that can mess the system up and it can't predict are things like special teams touchdowns, things like defensive touchdowns, and things like the quarterback getting hurt during the game. So please keep that in mind as we go through and talk about these picks here for the system. So something special happened January 1st, 2023, Bailey. I think you know what that was. Ohio officially, legally.
Oh, yeah.
I no longer had to drive over across the river here to West Virginia to make a bet. We could sit on our butts on our phone, make a bet on whatever favorite football team we want to bet on. So that was a big day, and there are more and more new people coming into this hobby now than ever, starting to bet on games. But I realized over the last 11 months or so how many people don't know what the lines mean, don't know what it means. What does it mean if you just want to bet? So, Bailey, let's say that I'm a 49ers fan. I just wanted to bet $10 on the 49ers winning tonight against the Eagles. What would I have to bet if I were to get on the DraftKings app?
So if you wanted them just to win the game, the 49ers are favored, so they would set the odds appropriately of what percentage of chance San Francisco would have to win the game. So if you say you bet $10, the return on that with San Francisco tonight would be about $7. Conversely, if you wanted to bet the Eagles to win the games as they're considered the underdog, you'd bet $10, you'd win about $13. And then
That's profit. $13 profit, $7 profit. So you get your
correct,
money
yeah,
back plus that.
correct. Either way, you'd get your $10 back, yeah.
Okay, so 49ers are favored by 3. So if you look at that DraftKings app, it's going to say SFO -3, PHI +3, Philly +3, San Francisco -3. What does that mean if you're looking at those two numbers?
Yep, very simple. You just add those points to that team's total at the end of the game. So if you take San Francisco -3, that means they have to beat Philadelphia by more than 3 points for you to win the bet. And with those, they're all pretty standard. Bet $10, you win about $9. So it's usually right around there. And yeah, you either add points to the team's total at the end of the game or subtract total if they're the favorite. And they have to either win by that many. If you take the dog plus the points, like plus Philadelphia +3, they only lose by 1 or 2, you still win the bet.
Yep. And if San Francisco wins by 3, Philly loses by 3, and you bet it at 3, then guess what? You just get your money back. Okay, so you don't lose if it's a tie. Essentially, you get your money back. So if you just want to bet on the game without any points involved, that's called the money line. If you want to bet on with the points, that is considered ATS, against the spread. And those are the two main bets that you can make as far as the games go. You can bet over and unders. What does over under mean? If you bet the over and the line is 42, that means you think the two teams are going to combine for more than 42 points. If you bet the under, you think the two teams are going to combine for less than that. Those are basically the main bets that you can make on a single game. We will talk about a couple of other things like parlays and teasers here in a few minutes. So saying all of that, let's get into the system picks. The first one we have, the system likes Indianapolis Colts -1 at Tennessee. System shows the Colts as 3.5 points better than the Tennessee Titans. Remember, we only have, I think, 5 games of information for the Titans because why? Will Levis is now the starting quarterback there, rookie from Kentucky. So you can see this line is Indy -1 at Tennessee. Indianapolis, I think, does have a lot better roster than the Titans do, but Tennessee is 4-0 at home. So they're getting a lot of credit for that home game today. Like I said, the system has Indianapolis rated as just about an average team, and Tennessee is about 4 points below average. What do you see going on tonight, Bailey?
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor is injured. It's kind of a big loss for Indy. He's going to be out 3 to 5 weeks or so. But he wasn't there in the beginning of the year. They played fine without him. Running back, kind of plug and play in the NFL. Of course, your elite guys like Taylor, you're going to miss them, but it's not a huge loss compared to, say, your quarterback, of course. I was looking up some stats this morning. Pro Football Focus, they really like the Indianapolis run game against Tennessee. So I'd imagine that's what we're going to see. Probably a low scoring, run the ball game. I actually like what I've seen from Levis so far. I mean, he looks like he has some potential. But I actually watched a good bit of their game last week. They played Carolina at home. I had Tennessee in that game, and Tennessee covered, but they really struggled. I mean, it was a slog of a game, even against a lesser team like Carolina. Indy -1 on the road, I think that's a good value pick.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There are some injuries here. Stewart, he's an interior defensive lineman for the Colts, is out. Like you said, Bailey, Jonathan Taylor is out. And they do have a corner out, Brent, but he's not. He's a very low-ranked corner there. For Tennessee, it looks like Chuba Hubbard is out. He's on the IR right now, and they do have a couple of other guys that are out that aren't that great. So they're pretty healthy right now, all things considered. But I think they're getting too much credit for that home record. Don't get me wrong; they're one of the best coach teams in the NFL. You and I talk about that Tennessee coaching staff all the time and how they get the most out of whoever they have. Last year, they didn't get enough credit for how hard that team played last year when they were decimated by injuries. Their offensive line was absolutely terrible. They brought Josh Dobbs in to start, which is Josh Dobbs is, I mean, that's his story of his life. He gets shuffled around from one team to the next because he's so smart. He can pick up offenses quickly. But they lost. I don't think he won a game with them, but they were in every single game until the end, and sometimes until the last play. So you have to take that into consideration that they're going to be well coached. If they could play a mistake-free game, they could definitely win this. Levis has a huge arm, man. When he drops back and he sees somebody streaking down the field, he will chuck that thing 65 yards in the air. But I just think this Indy team is a little bit too well-rounded. As long as, the quarterback doesn't turn the ball over there, I think that we're a safe bet. So we're officially taking Indianapolis Colts -1 at Tennessee. Here, the next game here, this is a really interesting one here. The Denver Broncos getting 3.5 at the Houston Texans. The system has these teams rated almost exactly even. I'm not sure why Houston is giving points, this many points here to this Denver team that's won 5 in a row. I think too many people are still stuck on that 70-point game that happened. I think in week 3, Broncos gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins, who are just a track team. They're just a bunch of track stars there. And ever since that game, they've been a top 12 defense. They made some changes. They shuffled some guys around, got rid of some guys. And they've also created a lot of turnovers since then. They've been playing great. I think really this is a great opportunity here to take these guys at +3.5. The system has them ranked as just perfectly, I'm talking almost to 1/100th of a point even right now. We know, obviously, Houston's getting a lot of attention because why? CJ Stroud, especially in this area. Everybody in this area loves CJ Stroud. He's having a great year. He's performing fantastic. He's got a couple of young wide receivers he's got great chemistry with. But he's also had a lot of luck this season, the first half of the season, as far as turnovers go. You're starting to see that luck turn. He had the same turnover percentage through, I think, week 9 as Josh Allen had. Turnover worthy play percentage, I should say. So what is that? That's something Pro Football Focus tracks. It's a pass that maybe a defensive back drops, or a fumble that's right, next to a linebacker, and the running back, the receiver, the quarterback happens to fall on the fumble and get the ball back. He had the same amount of those plays as Josh Allen did, but yet Josh Allen led the NFL in interceptions. And CJ Stroud, he had 0 through how many games? And then he only had 1 through half the season. So the NFL is about a lot of bounces, whether they go for you and against you. They went for him the first half of the season. We're starting to see that go the other way. I think he had 3 picks last week or the week before that. So if that continues, I really like Denver here today. What about you, Bailey?
Yeah, you bring up a good point about how much luck and variance there is in the NFL and football. I don't think your casual fan realizes as much as it really is a lot of variance week to week. And what we try to do as bettors and with the system is try to eliminate as much luck as possible and determine if you take some of that luck out, who the better team is. Very easy for teams to get lucky, get a few turnovers, recover a fumble versus not recovering a fumble, punt bouncing into the end zone versus getting down at the 1. I mean, it goes on. And that's the stuff that wins and loses games. So you see one team that's 9-2 could be exactly the same in terms of raw ability as a 500 team. I mean, you just see it all the time. So this game is a good example. Houston's definitely kind of like the shiny new toy, and they have been fun to watch. I'm an OSU fan, so I've been happy to see Stroud do well, and he's played lights out. I mean, for a rookie to be doing what he's doing is amazing. But Denver definitely is a solid team. I'm really not surprised to see them bounce back and do well this year. I was more surprised last year when they struggled. They got a good roster. They got a good roster. Bringing over Wilson, veteran quarterback. I thought they would be much better than they were last year. So not too surprised to see them do well. Big spot for Houston this week in that they had a massive game against Jacksonville last week at home. They were 1 behind in the division. Surely we're pumped as could be to beat Jacksonville, stay in the division race. Lost a really tight game at the last second. Sometimes it's hard to bounce back from those games. It's kind of one thing I like to look for too, is spot. Pretty bad spot for Houston to now have to come back as favorites against a solid Denver team. 3 points is too many. I mean, I'll take the field goal every time here.
Yeah, we talk about luck. One thing I don't think anybody talks about enough is the NFL, and something as simple the most simple thing that you would probably never think about is the shape of an NFL ball. It is a funny, weird shape. There's no other ball in professional sports shaped like this stupid ball. And it looks great when it's flying through the air, but holding it is awkward. You got to really learn how to hold the football. And when it gets on the ground, there's no telling where that ball is going to bounce. And you'll see every year, you'll see some team that recovers like 12, 15 fumbles. And then you'll see another team that recovers like 2 or 3. And there's no difference between those two teams or how many they could have or should have covered. It's just literally the bounce of the ball. We've all seen where somebody will fumble a ball, it will bounce, a defender will be running, and it will fall right in the defender's hand in stride, and he's gone. There's no way to predict that. There's no way to know how or why that happens. So when we talk about luck and this CJ Stroud luck for his, these this turnover luck that he's had, it really just comes down to that. Next year, you could see this guy, with 15, 16, 17 interceptions, and he's the same player doing the same things. It just so happened that the balls aren't bouncing his way. So that's something to keep in mind. So we're going to take Denver officially plus 3.5 here at Houston. They are on a 5-game winning streak. Russell Wilson, he's not doing anything spectacular, but he's not turning the ball over, and he is making one really special throw per game, as we've seen lately. A couple of these end zone throws have been really perfect dimes, and that's what they've needed to do to win. Okay, our next game, the Kansas City Chiefs -6 at the Green Bay Packers. Right now, the system shows Kansas City to be between 8 and 9 points better than Green Bay, so it likes Kansas City. Green Bay, man, what a game they played last week, Jim. How about that? I was not expecting them to go into Detroit and win like they did.
Yeah, they've kind of been a little bit of an enigma. Some people were high on them coming into the season, thought that Jordan Love was going to be pretty good. They got a pretty solid roster. I mean, the skill guys, Watson's really good. Aaron Jones is always really solid. And they did catch people off guard. I'm sure nobody had the Packers winning outright at Detroit on Thanksgiving like that. So they've had some good performances, been up and down. They're obviously not the level of Kansas City. The Chiefs on the road, Sunday night game, they'll be pumped up for it. Sunday night at Lambeau. I think being a night game like that will give KC a little bit extra boost than if it was a 1:00 game.
Right.
KC -6. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, that game last week, the system liked Green Bay. We won some cash on that game last week. But we did not expect them to win outright. I'll tell you that much. And they pretty much controlled that game. Now, listen to the PFF guys this week. Detroit changed up their defense last week for some reason. They switched out of zone, went to man. And Jordan Love had his most accurate game of the season and maybe his most accurate game as a pro last week. I mean, he was dropping dimes. Every pass he threw was right on the money. And I don't know if it was because they switched things up, things kind of opened up for him. But, man, he played lights out. He's been getting better and better. Now, if that continues, playing at Lambeau is not easy. Kansas City is an AFC team playing an NFC team. This is a bigger game for Green Bay, 100%. They need this game more than Kansas City does. The lights are shining on them. I know that their head coach wants to prove that Aaron Rodgers wasn't the reason that they won all those games. You know that every NFL head coach has an ego. I don't care who you are. He wants to prove that it wasn't Aaron Rodgers, and Jordan Love wants to prove that he's a worthy heir to Rodgers. So they're going to come out and they're going to punch Kansas City in the mouth, give them everything that they can. The one thing about Kansas City is the second half this year, their offense has been awful. I don't know what it is about the second half with this team. They cannot get into the end zone for anything. They had several games where they didn't score a point in the second half. So we really have to watch how that plays out and what happens there. But I do think that they're just going to be too much for Green Bay to overcome. This will probably be a close game, but Kansas City by more than 6 I like as well. One thing about this team that nobody talks enough about is this Kansas City defense. That's a top 3 defense in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. They are playing really, really great football, and they've had a pretty tough schedule so far. So they're going to be in the thick of this until the end of the season. One thing they are missing, though, Bailey, they don't have that go-to receiver outside of their tight end.
Yeah, it's Kelsey. I mean, he's just the engine in the pass game, and he's obviously getting up there. He isn't quite the player he used to be. He's certainly still one of the best tight ends, of course. But you can see he's starting to lose a step a little bit. It'll be interesting to see within the next few years, what they start to do. I really like the kid Rice at wide receiver.
Yes.
Every time you watch him play, he pops off the screen when he's got the ball in his hands. He's this athletic, bigger guy. Seems like they're starting to move him into the offense more. But you're dead on. Really, the reason you bet KC here, as flashy as Mahomes and all that is their defense is playing really, really well. Even over the last half of last season, they just were much improved over they were the last few years before that. That was kind of their weakness. They always kind of had to outscore people. It's not the case anymore. I mean, their defense is very much improved. I would say legit top 5 defense in the NFL. That's as good as they're playing.
Yeah, the Rice kid, man, you see he'll have a couple routes or a couple catches a game. And you're like, man, who is that kid? And I just read that Andy Reid said he is starting to do more Mahomes friendly things on the field. What does that mean? Well, Mahomes, he buys extra time and he likes his guys to go deep. He wants to hit the home run. And I think Rice is starting to get that he's got to not give up on a play no matter what. Sometimes you'll see young guys, they'll run the route. Once the route's over, they'll kind of slow down, look back. Oh, crap, there's the quarterback running around. I got to try to make my way to get open. And by that point, it's too late. So I think that he's starting to do things that Mahomes like. And they say another thing Reid said is while, special teams are, in practice or they're doing goal line, he's doing something else. He's running over and asking Mahomes questions, or him and Mahomes are going off to the side and running more routes. So I bet by this last 5 weeks in the season into the playoffs, you're going to see him start to really blossom because they do need another guy to go to. All right, next game on this list is one that the system likes, but man, I'm real iffy on this one. It's the Saints plus 4.5 at home versus the Detroit Lions. System only shows Detroit as 1 point better. This Saints team has played half of their games. They played really solid ball, and the other half they really crapped themselves. I don't know what it is. Last week they lose by 9 points to a not very good Falcons team, but that score was really deceiving because Derek Carr threw a pick 6, which he never does. That guy never does that. He's real careful with the ball. That never happens. And then they're inside the 10-yard line, and this I don't know, pocket knife they got Taysom Hill. They put in a quarterback and he freaking fumbles the ball inside the 10. I think it was on first or second down when he did that. So they had another chance to score. You take those two things away, they win that game. Detroit has got to have a sour taste in their mouth after that Packers game. And New Orleans has a bunch of injuries here. Some really important guys are out. Marshawn Lattimore, their kicker is questionable. The Shaheed kid, the receiver, Cam Jordan's questionable. And I did hear that Olave is playing, but they've got a bunch of guys out. I'm very cautious about this. I don't even know if I want to make this an official pick, but it does like New Orleans 4.5. What do you think?
I think this is right up the system's alley where we've made bread and butter through the years. It's a spot where really no one is going to like to play the Saints, to bet on the Saints. But them at home, they're always tough. Carr is solid, veteran quarterback. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Kamara is really good back. It's hard to see the Saints being a top tier team. They're not going to make a jump up and be like NFC contenders, but they're always a solid team, especially at home. And if it was money line, if it was a 50-50 game, of course I'd take the Lions, but 4 points, 4.5 points in this kind of game, it comes in to play quite often. It makes a huge difference. Detroit hasn't been playing all that well. They lost to Green Bay the week before. Chicago in Detroit had them beat, and Detroit just blew the game, or Chicago blew the game. We saw Detroit just get lambasted at Baltimore not too long ago. So they're kind of trending down. I actually like this play. I think if you can get 4.5 with the Saints, good value pick. I think it'll be a close game, and I can see the Saints giving them a run.
Yeah, you talk about that Chicago game. I mean, Jared Goff, he played absolutely atrocious. He threw 3 picks, and there was another surefire pick 6 that was dropped in that game. He didn't play well against Green Bay either. He was PFF's #1 graded quarterback for a portion of the season. He's either playing perfect or he loses his mind. He's seeing ghosts. He's I don't know what happens to him sometimes where he'll have a game where he can't do anything right. And how they beat the Bears, I don't know what happened. I forget exactly what happened that game. But the Bears had that one 5 different ways. They couldn't get in the end zone enough. They don't have a good red zone offense. You know, they rely too much on Fields making plays with his feet. And I think that Eberflus and his staff are gone after this year. They'd be crazy not to. And, you know, the rumor is Harbaugh's going there. That would be a great fit for them. But they're going to want somebody to build around Fields. I hear they're going to stay with that guy. But getting back to the Lions, you're right. They are so up and down. And this year, they are trending down right now. New Orleans has been pretty steady. They've been a really steady team all year. They've kind of been the same team every week. Last week was an anomaly. So we'll take it. The Saints plus 4.5.
One other thing, Goff's home road splits in his career have been drastic. He just has always played much better at home. Going on the road, Superdome's tough place to play.
Yeah.
Take that in consideration as well. Even when he played with the Rams, his home road splits are just drastic, where he plays way better at home for some reason than road.
Yeah, so we'll go with that there. The system shows Detroit just 1 point better. New Orleans is getting 4.5. So that is pick number 4 here. Here's a game. We're not going to make an official pick, but we got to talk about this. This Carolina Panthers Tampa Bay Bucks game. So what was it? Just yesterday, 2:00, I was checking the lines. It had Tampa as a 6-point favorite. You and I did a test on this last night about, what was it, 8:45 or so. We checked. Holy smokes, that line has moved down 2.5 points. Check this morning, another half point. 3-point move in the favor of Carolina. In other words, people think Carolina is going to win this game. Obviously, is a huge move. And like you said last night, you only see this when quarterbacks are hurt. I ran and I checked all the news sites. Is Baker Mayfield out? No, he's not. So what does that mean? Let's talk a little bit about reverse line movement. What is that, Bailey?
Well, the lines move. The casinos move the lines based on the bets that are coming in. So if they set a line at 6, all of a sudden everybody starts betting on Carolina plus 6. They'll start to move the line a little bit. They'll drop it down to 5.5, 5. For it to move this much, it means there's probably some really big bettors that put a lot of big money on Carolina. That's usually what drives the line movement. Is they'll watch for huge bets. We're talking $100,000 bets to come in on Carolina, and when they see that, they kind of realize, oh, our line's probably off, and that's kind of how they set the market. The point spread really is just like a financial market, where if money's coming in on one, they'll shade it one way. If it starts coming it back, they'll go back and forth until they find that happy spot to where they try to get people to bet on both the teams pretty much equally. So Carolina earlier in the week, someone that I really respect, like Carolina as like their best bet of the week. It's like, well, how can you really like Carolina? I mean, what's their against the spread record this year? 1-10, something like that.
No, they're 1-8-2.
Yeah. So, but I guess it's probably more a bet against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is probably not good enough to be laying almost a touchdown to dang near anybody. So it's probably a combination. So yeah, line for it to drop that much through the week, you don't see that often. Not 3 points within a couple of days.
Yeah, and to see that kind of a line shift, that means the sharps are on it. Who are the sharps? Well, those are the sharp bettors. And Vegas bases their line movement on sharp bettors. Sharp bettors are the guys who come in. They'll lay, like Bailey said, $100,000 down on a game. If somebody comes into Vegas and says, hey, I want Carolina plus 6 at 100K, and this guy's a consistent winner there, they'll begrudgingly take that bet because they want him to come back and let them know, hey, this guy knows something we don't know. We got to adjust this line right now before we lose our butts this weekend. So that's something we got to continue to keep a watch out for. The system actually liked Carolina at plus 6, but they've been so bad that we do exclude a couple of teams. Carolina was one of them. The other one is that Patriots team that I can't even stomach watching that offense. It's like watching a high school team that can't figure out who they want their quarterback to be, and they've got 12 guys on the roster. They get inside the red zone and lose their minds. I mean, Mac Jones is awful. Now Bailey Zappi starting, but this Carolina team has been no better. Frank Reich is gone though, so this is a new game with an interim head coach, and it always seems like when an interim head coach comes in, there's a weird bump, and the team is energized, like, okay, we got a fresh voice in here. When the interim head coach comes in, he doesn't try to do anything too complicated. He's not bringing down the hammer. He's trying to get guys to relax. Let's just go out, do our best. And that really takes the edge off the team. They play loose. So maybe there's a little bit of that in there, but there's got to be somebody who knows something. And some of these sharp bettors, I don't care what anybody says, they've got some insider information. They've got buddies on these coaching staffs.
Yeah. There's people that do this for a living. I mean, as
Yeah.
much as your normal person goes to work 40 hours a week, they're grinding stats, reviewing box scores, reviewing all kinds of advanced metrics. And that's the people that set the lines kind of do the same thing. I mean, there's people that set the lines for a living, and it's really just a battle between who has the better number, who has the more accurate odds. That's really what sports betting really comes down to is, do you agree with the odds that Vegas is setting? And if you don't, that's when you put your money down. If you think that's on, stay away from it. And that, I mean, that's the gist of sports betting in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we'll keep an eye on this. I still don't feel comfortable making an official bet, especially now that it's gone down a couple, 3 points. That's such a huge move. But it wouldn't surprise me to see them win because win outright, because this is a division game. And division games, it doesn't matter. The narratives do not matter. The records don't matter. These guys play each other so much. They know each other so well that they've got enough tape on each other to know how to play each other well. And you see this all the time. You'll see bad teams beat the good teams that they should not beat all the time that are in their division. And I think about 3 years ago, remember the Jags, it was tank for Trevor year. And the Jags were going to go 0-16 because they wanted to get Trevor Lawrence. Week 1, they go into Indy and they're playing old man Phil Rivers for the Colts. Colts were favored by like 2 touchdowns, and you see those eliminator games where you got to pick one team to for sure win every week, and then you can't pick that team again. And something like 90% of those people were eliminated because they picked the Colts, and the stinking Jags went into Indy and won that game. So when it comes to division games, you can never really tell. You have to really tread lightly. So we're not going to make this an official pick, but if you could have got Carolina +6, that looks like a great bet right now. Before we move on, I do have to say, when we're talking about sports betting and gambling, please don't bet more than you can lose. Never chase your losses. And if you feel like you do have a problem, want to talk to someone, or look into some resources, 1-800-GAMBLER is available to you. 1-800-GAMBLER for anyone who thinks they need some resources for gambling. All right, we're going to pick up here with the biggest game of the week. And me as a 49ers fan, I'm pumped for this game. I've been pumped for this game for 300 days now. They are going into Philly. They're going into the link there to play the Eagles. And shockingly, the Eagles have the best record in the NFL, but they are 3-point dogs to this 8-3 49ers team. The system shows San Francisco as 6 points better. And so it likes San Francisco's right now. It was 2.5. That's when we took the bet at 2.5. It likes them. But man, the narrative this week has been San Francisco, San Francisco, San Francisco. That's a scary thing to do to the team with the best record in the NFL.
Yeah, the Eagles they've been getting lucky a little bit here and there, but they're obviously still a very good team. You don't get to be the record they made the Super Bowl last year. I mean, the thing, the really matchup that really worries me about taking San Francisco is your concern with the 49ers all the time is the O-line. The Philly defensive front is just ferocious. I was looking up the PFF stats. Rookie Jalen Carter from Georgia, they got him ranked the 2nd interior defender in the league.
Yeah.
For a rookie to do that, I mean, I knew he was a beast. I mean, I saw him a lot last year. Ohio State played Georgia. He dropped way too far in the draft because of the off-the-field stuff, but Eagles, for them to be able to make the Super Bowl last year and get a player of that caliber in the draft the next year, not even fair, really.
No, and I was sick at my stomach when I saw that. He got in some trouble in the offseason, and I think people were hesitant on taking him. And I just thought of all the teams for that kid to go to. Yeah. And he's obviously more motivated now. He's an absolute beast on the field. And if the 49ers do have one, chink in the armor, it's that offensive line. They've got the best offensive lineman in the NFL and Trent Williams. And then after that, they have nothing. And, I'm a lifelong 49ers fan. And every week I hold my breath because I think Brock Purdy is going to be out for the season because these guys are just terrible at their jobs outside of Trent Williams. And you saw Trent Williams was out for a couple games. And I mean, their offense struggled. He is the link. If he's not there, that team they can't move the ball. Everything is based. The foundation is the run. The run gets the pass going, and if they can't run the ball, they can't really do much on offense. They're really stringing things together. So that defensive line definitely scares me for sure. I do think San Francisco is the better team and the more talented team. One thing to note is this will be the third game in 13 days for the Eagles. And last week, their defense was on the field for 92 plays. 92 plays for a defense is a ton. And you see week in and week out, when a team goes to overtime and they play that many plays, the next week their defense is dog tired. Add on to that, San Francisco got 4 more days of rest. That's a big advantage for San Francisco. So there's no surprise here that they did go ahead and come out as the favorites. But to go from 2.5 to 3, there's a lot of money coming in on them. And Philly's been hearing it all week.
For
You don't want
sure.
to give a team like that that much of motivation. They don't need any extra motivation. They're already good. That's what scares me about this game. And Jalen Hurts, what can you say about him?
Yeah, Hurts is really good. Runs the ball well, passes it, moves around well, got a big arm, fits well into what they're doing. They got a lot of weapons, 2 elite wide receivers. I mean, Devontae Smith, maybe not elite, but he's good. He's a first-round pick. It really, the spot kind of worries me for Philly. You're right. The coaches are going to be saying, look, you beat these guys in the NFC Championship game last year. You're 11-1. They're 8-4. They're going to make you 3-point underdogs. Like, the coaches definitely talk about that kind of stuff. And Philly's going to be sky high for the game. Philly's had a run of really tough opponents. So I don't know how much steam they're going to have left. Like you said, after playing that Buffalo game, they played KC on the road on Monday night the week before. You would think this game, if you didn't know better, you would think Philly maybe would be a small favorite, maybe like a pick. For San Fran to be 3-point favorites on the road, I do agree that San Fran is the better team. Like early in the year, I told you pretty early on, San Fran looks like the best team in the league to me. They had that losing stretch, but they had a lot of injuries with Debo and Trent Williams. Come back strong since then. They've gone right back to where they look like the best team in the league. It's a huge matchup. It's a fun game. It's definitely going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it's one of these. I obviously I'm going to go with what the system picked. I'm going to take the 49ers, but I'm really cautious. And one thing the 49ers don't have is depth. And one thing their head coach loves to do, and it drives every 49ers fan nuts, is not sub out his best guys. If you're a starter for the 49ers, you're not coming out of the game. And anybody who's watched this game, Christian McCaffrey, I love that guy. He is a do-it-all. He's an amazing player. But Kyle Shanahan, I don't know what it is. He refuses to give him a break. He's getting an average of like 23 touches and targets a game. There's 17 games in an NFL season. I saw a video of him with his wife the other day, and he had bruises all over him. He had half of his arm was purple. And he just takes a beating every single game. It's getting to that dog time of the season where you're going to see some guys banged up. Right now, they're pretty healthy. Eric Armstead, defensive lineman for them. He's ranked really high. He's having a great year. He's questionable today. He's about the only guy that's hurt. But that scares me. If playing a defensive line like this for the Eagles, you could see this happen. If 49ers could get beat by 10 points. But I guess I'm going to officially take the 49ers here at -2.5 at the line that we got them earlier in the week. Okay, yeah. So those are the official picks.
With McCaffrey, he's not the biggest guy,
No.
And he's had an injury history, and you and I talk about it all the time while we're watching the games. 49ers will be up 20 points, and they're still just banging McCaffrey up the middle. Like, why? What are they doing? It seems like they just want to ride him. And sure, fantasy owners love it, but it is risky. He's definitely taking a beating and just putting a lot of taking the tread off his tires with the way they use them.
And here's the bad thing. They've got a kid in his second year, Jordan Mason. He's a closer running back. He's a big kid. He's like 230 pounds. He averages like 5.9 yards a carry, and they just won't give him the stinking ball. And I mean, every week I'm watching. I got half of my screen on the red zone and half on the 49ers game, and I'm throwing my hat at the screen. Get him out. Give him a break. Every run is like you see 2 or 3 guys pile on him, and I'm just holding my breath waiting for them to carry him off. We've been lucky so far. We'll see how that goes. All right, now I know the people in this area have wanted to hear the thoughts on these Browns and Steelers teams and these games. Bailey, you did some research. Let's start with the Browns. They're at the Rams today, and I believe they're getting 5 points unless that's moved. And your old buddy from the Ravens, you're a big Steelers fan. You loved this guy. You love to beat him anyway when he played for the Ravens. Joe Flacco starting for the Browns today. What do you think about this Browns team heading to LA to play Matt Stafford and this Rams team that's kind of been hovering around 500 and sometimes look like a pretty confident team?
Yeah, is this real life? Really? Like Cleveland's in contention. They got an elite defense. They may have the number one defense in the entire league. I mean, they're legit that good. And they're rolling with Joe Flacco this week, rolling off the couch. Like, how's it come to this? But yeah, I saw the line. It's around 4 right now. Honestly, to me, I still think that's too many points. The Cleveland defense is just that good. I mean, the Rams aren't just going to move the ball up and down on the field on them. But again, if you're betting Cleveland, you're betting Flacco. Browns also have tons of injuries, of course. Outside of the obvious, and Chubb, Watson. They got some good injury news. I saw Myles Garrett; he was questionable. Looks like he's going to play. Wyatt Teller was questionable, going to play. Kareem Hunt the same way. They're still missing a lot of key guys. Rams have a really good pass rush. Their O-line, D-line matchup in the pass game on PFF is heavily favored towards the Rams. A lot of that, obviously, is going to be Aaron Donald. Anytime you play him, it's always something you have to contend with. If I had to bet it, I'd bet Cleveland plus the points, really. I think their defense is going to travel well. The Rams don't have a huge home field advantage.
No.
I'm not going to bet it because I'm not putting my money on Flacco off the couch, but I think it'll be a close game. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Cleveland win outright.
Yeah, they started out the season using 3 different quarterbacks, and they won a lot of big games. The games they lost in the beginning of the season were really stupid losses. Like that game, the Steelers scored 2 defensive touchdowns in that first week. That never happens. You get one. If you get one defensive special teams touchdown every month, you're doing good. To get 2 of them in one game, that never happens. It was just little things like that happened. That Baltimore game, they threw in DTR into that game with a day of practice. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
You wasn't going to get anything out of him that week. So you're right. That team is talented. Their defense, if they're healthy and clicking, it's hard to even get a first down against them. So, I mean, I'm with you on that. This Rams team, they play in our division. I don't that Nacua kid is great. Obviously, they've got him. They've got Matthew Stafford's best friend, his binky,
Yep.
his security blanket, but he's been hurt all year. So I don't know, how they're going to do. Their offensive line isn't that great, and he's had some really bad turnover luck this season. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm not betting it either. Obviously, there's a new quarterback starting, so the system has to have 4 games of info. It does not have that with Flacco, so we can't bet that. So we'll see what happens there. Next up, we've got the Steelers hosting Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Last I saw, I think it was Steelers -6.5. It's gotten up to today. Arizona struggled all season. I give them credit at the beginning of the year, especially with Josh Dobbs. That team played their hearts out every game, and they had a lot of close games. They beat Dallas. I mean, no one saw that coming. They've only got 1 other win since then, but Kyler come back. He looked good in that first game. Since then, he's looked terrible. This Steelers defense is playing well. Steelers, big thing that happened last week. They got rid of every Steelers fan's thorn in their side, Matt Canada. And what happens the first time in 56 games they go for over 400 yards? They win comfortably. What do you see happening today?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Canada's gone, and the first, just like that, the first game, 400 yards offense, like unbelievable. And you can see the difference. I mean, they was attacking the middle of the field. They went to Freiermuth. He had a massive game after he had been an afterthought most of the year. They definitely made an effort to try to attack the middle of the field, which has always been a huge complaint of Canada's offense. Looks like weather's going to be a factor in this one. There's some rain, some wind. Doesn't look like it's going to be severe, but a grass field like that, it could come into a factor. Arizona, you have to wonder how much fight they're really going to have in them.
Right.
They got blown. Their doors blown off last week. It's nice having Murray back, but I mean the roster's just not very good. Their O-line's not good. I mean, Pittsburgh's defensive front should have their way all day. Fun little storyline is James Conner coming back to Pittsburgh. He's going to be playing today. So I believe it'll be his first time back in Pittsburgh since he left. So I'm
Yeah.
sure he'll get a welcome, of course, playing college ball there and played really good for us for a number of years. They have Pro Football Focus has Connor the fifth best running back in the league right now. That dude's still
Yeah.
just plugging along. I mean, he
Yeah.
makes a difference for them when he's in. You can see it when he doesn't play versus when he does. They like to run the offense through him. So be interesting to see what he can do today against Pittsburgh D.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that. That's the homecoming game for him. And I watch a lot of Arizona games because they're in the 49ers division, and you're absolutely right. He makes a difference for them. When he's in the game, they are a different team. And when he went out earlier in the season, that's when you started to see these games not be as close as they were before. He just has a knack for finding the end zone, a knack for getting first downs. He's a reliable guy, and everybody loves him. The guy beat cancer. And I was shocked when Pittsburgh got rid of him. The way Pittsburgh, they're a loyal organization. I really thought they would have kept the guy, but I think he wanted to secure his financial future because I don't think he knew how long he was going to be healthy enough to play. So I don't blame him for going for the money, but he's had a really nice career there so far. And this is, I think, his fourth year in Arizona. And I don't think he's been healthy for all 16 games yet, but when he is healthy, he does good things. But outside of him and Murray running around, they don't have much. Marquise Brown is healthy. He's going to play today. But I just think Watt and that front for Pittsburgh is just going to probably engulf those guys, and you're going to probably see this Steelers team move to what they'll be 8-4 after this game if they win, which is just for them to have been where they were before they got rid of Canada is it's like hitting the lottery. That never happens. A team goes without outgaining their opponent in any of the games until his all season with Canada they had outgained had been outgained in every single game and still won 7 of those games, 6 of those games, whatever.
It's unreal.
Yeah, I don't get it. That's just solid team that knows how to find ways to win. And man, Mike Tomlin, I mean, Steelers fans love to hate that guy, but he just wins.
Yeah. You always tell me too, when you're judging Pittsburgh week to week, is like how good can Pittsburgh kind of bully the other team? Because that's what they're looking to do. If they can just out tough and out physical the other team, I think that's a clear case of it today. There's no way I'm laying a touchdown with Pittsburgh. That's just too many points to expect them to win by. I don't think they've won by more than a TD all year, have they? I don't believe so. So I'm not going to lay the points, but I think Pittsburgh will win the game. Arizona probably doesn't have a whole lot of fight. They got the classic West Coast coming playing a 1:00 game. Looks like weather out in the grass. Looks like should be a clear-cut Pittsburgh win. I mean, I think it would be a decent upset if Arizona could pull it off. You never know. Murray does have potential, Connor, but I think Pittsburgh money line, or as we'll talk about later, teasing Pittsburgh just to win the game, I think it would be a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. All right. Remember, don't bet more than you can afford to lose. Don't chase your losses. And if you feel like you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. There are resources out there for you. Okay, next we're going to move to some weather news. Jim, people don't pay enough attention to weather, and I know even me as somebody who bets on these games, I don't look into things enough with the weather, but man, can it make a difference if there's wind, if there's rain, if there's snow, things like that. You did say that there's going to be some weather in Pittsburgh. Is there anywhere else around the NFL that people need to be aware of before they lay these bets?
Yeah, it looks like the Northeast, New England, who's hosting the Chargers today, looks like some rain. Jets hosting Atlanta, a little bit of rain. Neither of them look terrible, and both those are turf fields. I think it matters a lot more when they play on turf versus grass. When it comes to the rain, I think it'll be more of a factor in Pittsburgh with the grass. It just can chew up the sod much more than the turf. First thing I do usually every single Sunday when I start to get ready for my prep is pull up the weather report. I mean, sometimes I'll forget to do it. Back in the day, I'd bet something, really like it, turn on the game, and it's just like a total monsoon. Oh my goodness, I never would have bet this if I would have known this was going on. So I've always made it a habit. First thing in the morning on Sunday, first thing I do is check the weather to see if there's anything that stands out.
Yeah, and you're so excited about this game, like, man, this line is great. I'm taking this, and then you get the game, you're like, well, no wonder the line was like that.
Yeah.
It bites you every time. You kick yourself in the butt, but it's something to definitely be aware of. So any of those Northeast home teams, we got to be keeping in mind that the weather could be a factor today. All
Yeah,
right.
that one other one, that Bucks Carolina, looks like it might have some showers too. So I
Oh,
am
okay.
interested to see how that one plays out with that huge line move and see if all these people are right, and we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, now we're like Jim mentioned, we're going to talk about teasers. Okay, that is another thing you can do with these bets in sports betting is a teaser. A teaser means what, Jim? Let's start with that. What does a teaser mean?
So if you have a point spread, say Kansas City -6, you can tease that with another team, and you basically take points off of the point spread. So the classic one is 6-point teasers. So if you have KC -6, you tease that 6 points down, makes it just a pick to where they just have to win the game. If you take like a dog, say you liked the Saints +4, you add 6 points to the spread. So you would have the Saints +10. So when the teaser, the teams you put in it, they all have to win. It's always multiple teams. So if you wanted Pittsburgh and New Orleans, you would have Pittsburgh at a pick, New Orleans +10, and they both would have to cover for you to win the bet.
So you're basically you just get to add points. You get to add points to your team in a teaser, and it has to be multiple teams. But your odds go way down. So if you were to bet two teams together in a parlay, let's say, your odds would be a lot better. In other words, you'd win a lot more money if your team's covered than in a tease because they are giving you points. So 6 point, 7 point, and 10 point. Those are the most common ones, right?
Correct. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and of course, the more points you get, the worse price you're going to get. So they charge you
Yeah.
extra. You can do it if you want to do it 7 points or you want to do it 10 points, you can. But of course, the odds, then you have to pay more.
Yeah, but it's an easy way to make money if you like a couple of games. Like I parlay the system picks a lot, and well, no, not as much as I should. And I've won some money last week doing that. So if you like a couple of teams, you get them together. If you like four teams, pair them together. You know, just do like a round robin with each team playing with one another, add that 6 points to them. You could win some money. You're not going to get great odds. You probably, I'd say with two teams, you might double your money, a little bit more than double your money if you do a 6 point teaser. But you and I both looked for 6 point teasers. You have one you like?
Yeah. This week, I like Kansas City, teasing them down from 6 to a pick. So then you don't have to worry about the spread at all. You just need Kansas City to win the game. It's always
Yep.
one I kind of like, is coming down from like that touchdown area favorite down to 1 point or pick them, to where they just pretty much just need to win the game. So KC's a system pick, going from -6 to a pick. I like that. The other one is Pittsburgh. Same idea. It's -6.5, -6 some sites. So teasing that down to -0.5 point. Basically, they just need to win the game.
Right.
So you're basically teasing the two of them together. Casey and Pittsburgh both have to win the game. Um, Always a good idea, and all the bets, is look around at different books, especially for teasers. Some of the books give you terrible odds for teasers, where you have to pay like $14 to win $10. You look at other ones, it'll be like a standard bet, like $11 to win $10. Those little bits add up a lot. And with the legal sports betting in Ohio now, we have a huge selection of books to choose from. Line selection is massive. If you really want to hang in the game and try to beat this, even if you're just doing it for fun, your money will go further. Look around at the different books and see who's giving you the best odds for these kinds of things. A lot of them will give you like little odds boosts, little bonus bets here and there. Take advantage of it. They add up a lot, where you can boost odds on a $20 bet and boost your winnings. It adds up over the course of a lifetime of betting in a major way.
DJ Oakley asked, do you guys have a best bet for today? Yes, that's how we're going to close out the show, DJ. We'll be there here shortly. And Jim, when you say books, what you're meaning is the company, the website. That's where you go to bet on these games, is the book, or the bookie is what they used to be called. It's what the professionals refer to them as, the book. So you can shop around, what DraftKings, Caesars. You've got, I think ESPN has a book now. There's all
Tons of
kinds
them
of,
out. Yep.
yeah. So when he
And
says the odds, that's one thing we did not explain. So if you see -110 on a bet, what that means is you would have to bet $110 to win $100 profit. And if you were to see +110, that means if you bet $100, you would win $110 profit. That's what the minus and plus means here in American odds. That's how we do it here in America. If it's minus, you have to bet that number to win $100 profit. If it's plus, If you bet $100, you'd win that number in profit. Just something to keep in mind. I went through and looked at some teasers too. I don't usually do 4-team teasers because it's so hard for them to hit. But I said, what the heck? I'll throw 5 clams on this. KC from -6 to a pick. Denver from +3 to +9. Indy from -1 to +5. And San Francisco from -3 to +3. That's my tease. We'll see if that hits. Chances are that it won't. I don't like doing multiple teams in anything, but why not have some fun today? All right. One other thing you can do to bet, and this is another common thing that you see in advertising all the time, are a thing called parlays. What's a parlay, Bailey?
Well, kind of similar to a teaser in that you're betting multiple things to happen, and all things have to happen. You have to win each of them to win. So you can parlay 2 bets together, 3 bets together, as many as you want, really. So if you liked New Orleans +4 and Pittsburgh -6.5, you can parlay those 2 things together. Both of them have to win for you to win your bet. If either of them lose, you lose the bet. But it boosts the odds tremendously. If you want to bet just one game, you're betting at -110 odds, like you explained. If you parlay them together, then all of a sudden it's more like +270, where you're betting $100 to win $270. You have to be careful with them. They're kind of known as a sucker's bet in the industry. Yep. You can have success with them if you're picky with them and look around. You can have some success. But there's a reason, like the books really try to push you into parlays. If you go onto some of these books, a lot of the little boosts they try to give you is to get you to place parlays. They try to get people on them. So tread lightly. You can throw some around, have fun with them, see what works, what doesn't work, but tread lightly. It's fun to see that big payday where you can parlay 10 teams together and bet $10 to win, $1,000.
Right.
And if you lose, who cares? So, I'm not going to tell anybody not to do it, but like the true odds of what you should really win, and when you bet $10 like that for that many teams, is really, you should be winning more like $1,500, where they're only going to give you $1,000, where the odds just mathematically aren't in your favor when you do them.
Yeah, like you said, they're sucker bets. There's a reason that you see the advertising for the guy that spent $100 and won, 40 grand, because that never happens. That's a one in a who knows how many thousands of bets that happens. That's where they make their money. Have betting games straight up, which is just one team against one team, and that's it, one game at a time. That's where you can make your money as a bettor. And doing these 10-teamers or 5-teamers, you hear people say, "Oh man, I was one game off. If this one thing would have happened," and they'll say that every single week, their entire life. Of course, you're only one game off. The books know you're going to be one game off. They know you're just going to be this much off. They know that it's going to be a flag in the end zone that takes a touchdown away, or a guy drops a touchdown, or there was a fumble, or he stepped his foot out of bounds by an inch. That's the way it works. That's how they make their money. So like Jim said, tread lightly, do it for fun. But here's the thing, you hit one of those, you pay for the whole season as long as you're responsible with how much you're betting. You'd never want to put a lot of money on a parlay unless you've got money to burn.
Yeah, you can do it. Just don't expect to win. Like, don't be putting you have $300 to bet this weekend. I would highly advise you not to just put a $300 parlay down and ride with it. Spread it around to the games you like. It's not as sexy to bet just the games here and there and just double your money. But if you really want to try to be profitable at this and try to beat the game, which is not easy to do, you have to be disciplined. The way to do it is just to grind your way, doubling your money here and there, grind it up through the season.
Yeah, absolutely. DJ asks a good question too. Over under 1.5 passing touchdowns today. Which one do you like? That's a good segue. Parlays with player props do seem to be profitable. And if you can keep up with player props, that is some way. I've seen a lot of people make a lot of money on those with parlays. The books can't keep track of everything. They can't keep track of every game for every sport and every player and every matchup. And I've seen people win money on parlays with this kind of, with these kind of bets, these player props. Me personally, I don't do it. I should do it more. I don't have the time between coaching YSN, my duties outside of the house, and my job. I don't have time. But first glance, Tua over 1.5 passing touchdowns against that Washington secondary, I would say I'd take the over on that.
Yeah, seems like it. I haven't really looked into that game much. seems like Washington getting 9's a little bit too many. I mean, I know Miami's has the capability of blowing anybody out, but on the road, it seems like a little bit much. But 2 over under 1.5, I mean, that seems way low. I would think that total should be a
Yeah.
little bit. I mean, if I had to bet one way or the other, you would think 2 is a slam dunk almost.
Yeah, Washington. I just looked this up. They have given up the most passing touchdowns in the NFL, and they have the worst touchdown to interception ratio, like 28-6. Giving up 28 passing touchdowns, only have like 6 picks. DJ, I'd take the over on that. Don't quote me, but hey, if you're going to bet, that would be one I would take. And I think Devin, I can't pronounce his last name. Achane. Well, who is that rookie? What's his last name?
I
don't know.
He hasn't played in a while, so I haven't heard.
He's playing today, so unless they give him the ball a ton, that kid is a lightning rod. Man, is he fast and explosive. Hopefully they could give him a dump off screen pass and get you one, and then one of those other elite receivers get you another one, DJ. So we should probably look into that more. Maybe in future episodes we will do that. All right, we're gonna wrap up the show here with one last thing. We're gonna call it Bailey's best bet of the day. Bailey, you've been betting on NFL games a lot longer than I have. You've done well at this over the years. You've looked through all this. You and I have been talking all week about these numbers, what the best matchups are. What's your best bet for Week 13?
So always comes with a disclaimer. This game's hard to beat. I mean, there's never a sure thing in these bets. You can't just go through and just pick someone and know like, oh, that's it. That's 100% going to win. It just doesn't work that way. People that do this for a living give out their best bets, and they're going to frequently lose. So as Gary said, be responsible with gambling. Don't go bet all kinds of money on this just because we picked it. But my favorite game of the week is going to be Denver. Denver getting the 3. It was actually 3.5 earlier in the week when we bet it. It's moved down. I think it's 3 everywhere. You might be able to find a 3.5 out there. But either way, I still like it. Denver getting 3 at Houston. Big letdown spot for Houston. We broke down the game earlier, but Denver's just as good as Houston. I mean, I think they're pretty equal teams. I think Denver might be even a little bit better. Houston's, like I said, the sexy new toy. Everybody's enthralled with them. They're a good team, but I think they're being overvalued just a bit. Denver getting 3 points. Best bet of the week.
You heard it here, guys. We broke this all down. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to hopefully make this a weekly show and get better. I promise I'm not going to have 3 or 4 tabs open at once, so you have to hear an echo of my voice next week. That was a flub first time. Sorry about that. But remember, bet responsibly. Never chase your losses. Don't bet more than you can lose. And if you need help, 1-800-GAMBLER is there for you. I'm Gary Altizer for Jim Bailey. We're signing off. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.